Hello, my dear students. I am Priyanka Koiri, your science teacher, and today we will continue our class from where we have left in the earlier class. Okay, so in the earlier class, we studied about cell, its discovery, and its various shape, etc. Right? So, but today we will try to understand about the structure of the cell. Okay, so the first structure of today's discussion is plasma membrane. The other name of plasma membrane is cell membrane. So, what is a plasma membrane? It is the outermost delicate elastic covering of the cell that separates it from the external environment. Okay. So, what does it mean? It means that the plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell. Okay, which separates the contents of the cell from outside environment. The plasma membrane is also selectively permeable membrane. What does it mean? Selectively permeable means that the plasma membrane allows the entry and exit of certain molecules only. So, not all molecules are welcomed inside the cell. There are some molecules which could be harmful for the cell. So, the entry of those molecules are restricted by plasma membrane. That is why plasma membrane is called selectively permeable membrane. The plasma membrane or the cell membrane is made of lipids and proteins. Okay. So, what is the functions of plasma membrane? The function of plasma membrane are it provide shape to contents of the cell. Okay, it's act as a mechanical barrier, endocytosis, osmosis, and flow of information. In this diagram, you can see this is the cell. The lower one is a cell, and there is an arrow there is a line which shows the plasma membrane. So plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell. Okay, clear? Now moving on to transport across membrane. It means for a cell to thrive or to survive, it needs energy from outside. So how are those energy molecules are transported inside the membrane? We will discuss now. Okay. So, since membranes act as a physical barrier between the organelles of the cell and its cytoplasm and its surrounding environment. Okay, so membranes act as a barrier between the contents of the cell with the outside. So all the substances have to cross the membrane. So some substances use energy to cross the membrane, or there are some substances which do not use energy to cross the membrane. So when substances pass the membrane utilizing energy, okay, so when any substances pass the membrane utilizing energy, that is ATP, such type of transport is called active transport. Okay, fine. Similarly, when substances pass the membrane without using energy, that means no energy is utilized by the substance to enter the cell, such type of transport is called passive transport. In this diagram, you can see passive transport and active transport. In the passive transport, you can see that blue molecules are moving from one part of the cell to the other part, and they are moving or they are passing the membrane automatically without using any energy. Whereas in the right side of the diagram, you can see the blue molecules are moving from one part of the cell to the other part by using energy. The energy here is ATP. Clear? So the transport across membrane takes place in two ways, either by using energy or without using energy. Okay, so when energy is used, it is called active transport, and when energy is not used, it is called passive transport. Okay, now next study about endocytosis and exocytosis. What is endocytosis and exocytosis? Endocytosis is the process of bringing the bulk of material from outside by the formation of endosomes. Okay, what does it mean? It means when substances are uh, are brought, or when substances are taken up by the cell in bulk, like in large quantity from outside. Okay, so that is called endocytosis. And exocytosis is the bulk expulsion of materials from the cell. That means when the cell removes or expels substances from its inside to outside. Okay, so that is called exocytosis. Okay, this diagram shows endocytosis and exocytosis. So in the right side you can see endocytosis is there. Here substances are coming inside the cell. Okay, and exocytosis, substances are expelled from the cell. Okay, so exo means to move outside, and endo is your to something which is inside, brought inside, right? So endocytosis is the movement of particles inside the cell, and exocytosis is the movement of particles outside, I mean like from cell to outside. Okay, next is passive transport. So I have told you already that when substances move across the membrane without using energy, it is called passive transport. And this passive transport is of two types. One is your diffusion and the second one is your osmosis. So these two processes, that is diffusion and osmosis, are very important. So let's try to understand what it is. Okay, so what is diffusion? Diffusion is the movement of substances. The substances could be either solid, liquid or gas from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration till spreads uniformly in the given space. Okay, that means when substances move from one region to other region. Okay, that means when the process of movement of any substances, it could be, the substances could be either solid, liquid or any gas, or gas or any type of substances, when it moves from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, this movement of process of movement is called diffusion. In this diagram you can see the substances are moving from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Always remember that, from higher to lower concentration. Okay, now what is the importance of diffusion? Why do we need to study about diffusion? Diffusion is important because it helps in the spread of different substances throughout cytoplasm of the cell. That means whenever any substances move inside the cell, okay, this substance is spread across the cytoplasm of the cell by the process of diffusion. Okay, second, diffusion also helps in exchange of respiratory gases between the cells and the environment. It means that this is very important. Okay, so diffusion, it is by the process of diffusion only that carbon dioxide and oxygen moves in and out of the cell. How does it happen? Let's try to understand. Okay, so in the atmosphere oxygen is 21%. We know that the composition we have learned in earlier classes. Then in atmosphere 78% is your nitrogen and 21% is your oxygen. So the concentration of oxygen is outside the cell is suppose 21%. Okay, that is in atmosphere we have got high concentration of oxygen. Inside the cell oxygen is not present, or it is in lesser amount, so oxygen will move from outside to the inside of the cell by the process of diffusion. Similarly, carbon dioxide, the concentration of carbon dioxide inside the cell is high, whereas the concentration of carbon dioxide outside the cell is low. That is why carbon dioxide moves from our cell to the outside environment. Okay, okay, so this all takes place by the process of diffusion only. Fine. And water also follows the laws of diffusion. Now is your osmosis. This osmosis is also a special type of diffusion. We will study now what is it. Okay, so what is osmosis? The osmosis is the movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. You can see this definition is quite similar to that of diffusion. In diffusion also, there was movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Fine. You can see in both the definition it is same, but here there is a difference, that is in osmosis the movement of water molecules takes place, not any other type of molecule. Only water molecule takes place through a semi-permeable membrane. Fine. So it can be said that osmosis is a special type of diffusion. In case of cell, plasma membrane act as a semi-permeable membrane. This is a diagram showing osmosis, where you can see the smaller blue dots are water molecules, okay, and there is one semi-permeable membrane. So since the concentration of water molecules is higher in the left hand side, so that is the reason the water molecules, the direction of osmosis is from left to right. Okay, clear? Now, types of osmotic solution. So what is osmotic solutions? Osmotic solutions are those which can cause osmosis. The solutions in which osmosis can take place is called osmotic solution, and it is of three types. One is your hypotonic, the next one is isotonic, and third one is your hypertonic. Hypotonic solutions. What are hypotonic solution? Let's try to understand. Hypotonic solutions are those solutions which has lower concentration of solutes than another solution. Fine. And isotonic solutions are those which has same concentration of solute with another solution as another solution. Fine. And hypertonic is that one which has higher concentration of solute than another solution. Okay, so in this diagram we will try to understand about hypotonic, isotonic and hypertonic solution. In the first diagram you can see it is written hypotonic solution. Here the concentration of solute is comparatively less than the red one. This red one is nothing but your RBC, that is red blood cells. Fine. So since the water concentration of this solute is less, that means solvent will be more. As a result, osmosis will takes place inside the red blood cells. I mean water will flow inside the red blood cells. In case of isotonic solution, water molecules and solute the concentration of solute molecules in both the solution is same, so there will be no such no difference in the osmosis will take place in both ways. Whereas in hypertonic solution, the concentration of water or solute is more. The concentration of solute is more. As a result, here osmosis will takes place and the water will move out of the cell. Fine. So hypotonic solutions can be said as dilute solutions, those solutions which contain smaller amount of solute, and hypertonic solutions can be said as concentrated solution, that means which contains more amount of solute. Okay, so whenever a cell is placed in hypotonic solution, fine, water will move inside the cell. As a result, it will swell. Okay, whereas in case of isotonic solution, there will be continuous movement of water in and out of the cell. As a result, no change in shape will be seen. Whereas in hypertonic solution, the concentration of solute is more. As a result, water will move out of the cell. This will make the cell this will cause the cell to shrink. Fine. So in the three types of, we have seen how osmosis will takes place in the three types of cell types of solutions. Okay, now types of osmosis. Fine. So there are two types of osmosis. One is your endo-osmosis and the other one is your exo-osmosis. Endo, then as the name suggests, endo means inside and exo means outside. So the process by which water molecule enter a cell is called endosmosis. So whenever the water molecules enters a cell, it is called endosmosis, and this endosmosis occur when a cell is placed in hypotonic solution. In the previous diagram, in the previous slide, I have shown you that the red blood cell swells because water moves inside of it. Okay, so that means there is endosmosis going on, whereas the process by which water molecules move out of the cell is called exosmosis. That means here the water molecules is moving out of the cell, leaving the cell. Okay, and it occurs when cells are placed on hypotonic solution. Remember in the previous slide, the last diagram, I have shown you that the red blood cell shrinked because water moved out of the cell. So here that means there is exosmosis going on. Clear? Endosmosis and exosmosis. This diagram shows endosmosis, that means movement of water inside the cell, and exosmosis is movement of water outside the cell. Fine. Next, let us try to understand the difference between diffusion and osmosis. So diffusion, it can take place in solid, liquid and gas. Osmosis takes place only in liquid medium. Diffusion, in case of diffusion, it does not require any medium, whereas in osmosis we need a semi-permeable membrane. In case of diffusion, it equalizes the concentration of the substance. Okay, that means diffusion will take place until and unless an equilibrium is reached, whereas in osmosis it does not equalize the concentration of solvent on both the sides of the membrane. Next, diffusion, it is not influenced by the presence of substance, whereas osmosis is influenced by the concentration and the types of solute present in it. Fine. Next, the next structure of cell is your cell wall. So what is cell wall? Cell wall is rigid. Rigid means quite strong, semi-elastic, protective covering present outside the plasma membrane in plant cells and fungi. So cell wall is the external covering, additional external covering of the cell, and this cell wall is quite tough, rigid, thick, and it is found in plant cells only and fungi. So the cellulose is the cell wall is made up of cellulose in case of plant and fungal cellulose called chitin in case of fungi. So the cell wall contains small pores, that means small holes called plasmodesmata, through which adjacent cells remain connected. Fine. So this diagram shows the presence of cell wall in a cell. Next, what is the role of cell wall? Why do a cell needs an extra cell wall when we have cell membrane? So the first point is it provides shapes to the cell. It gives shape to the cell. It provides mechanical strength to plants. Okay, it protects against pathogens and mechanical injury. Also, it prevents bursting of cells on endosmosis. That means whenever excess of water enters the cell, this cell wall protects the cell from bursting out. Okay, next, the growth of the cell wall determines the growth of the cell. As long as the growth of the cell wall is taking place, the growth of the cell also takes place. Fine. Next, plasmolysis. What is plasmolysis? When a living cell loses water through osmosis, there is shrinkage or contraction of the contents of the cell away from the cell wall. This phenomena is called plasmolysis. That means when exoosmosis takes place in case of plant cell, all the contents of the cell, that means the cell wall, the cell membrane, the cytoplasm and other organelles present inside the cell, they shrink. Okay, they shrink. So this situation is called plasmolysis. Here all the contents, water is moving out of the cell and all the contents inside the shell is shrinking, but the cell wall remains intact. Here only the the cell wall is fixed as it is, since it is rigid, but the contents has shrinked. So such type of cells are known as plasmolysed cell. Fine. Now let us try to understand the difference between cell wall and cell membrane. So cell wall is found only in case of plant cell, whereas plasma membrane, it occurs in plant and animal cell also. Cell wall is the outermost covering of the cell, okay, whereas plasma membrane is the outermost covering in case of animal cell, but in case of plants it lies inside the cell. Cell wall is rigid and thick, whereas plasma membrane is flexible and thin. Cell wall is permeable, that means it allows the entry of all the molecules, whereas plasma membrane is semi-permeable, that means it allows the entry of some selected molecules only. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. Cellulose is a carbohydrate, hemicellulose and pectin, whereas plasma membrane is made up of lipid proteins with small number of carbohydrates. Okay, clear? So I hope with this you have understood the difference between cell wall and cell membrane. Okay, next, nucleus. The next organelle of the cell is your nucleus. Nucleus is the brain of the cell. Brain, as the name, brain, that means it will control the cell. Okay, so let's study what is nucleus. So nucleus is the dense protoplasmic body that contains hereditary information and controls all cellular activity. Hereditary information, that means that nucleus of the cell has information for our next generation. Fine. Now nucleus lies in the central position, in the median position, in the center of the cell, whereas in mature cells it slides towards the periphery. That means in case of mature cell, the nucleus is not present just at the center, but it is somewhere near the plasma membrane. Okay, in prokaryotes, this nuclear membrane, the membrane which encloses the nucleus, is called nuclear membrane. So in prokaryotes, this nuclear membrane is absent, and the region where this contents of the nucleus is present is called nucleoid. There are some cells which lack nucleus, that means which does not have nucleus, and those cells are RBC, that is your red blood cells, and sieve elements. Sieve elements are found in plants. In some cells only one nucleus is present. Such type of cells are known as uninucleate. And there are some cells which contain more than one nucleus, and they are called multinucleate. So the cells which contain more than one nucleus is like your muscle cells. Your muscle cells have they are multinucleated. Okay, now this is the diagram. Cell, that purple one is your cell. Here you can see it is the diagram showing the nucleus of the cell. Now what is nucleus made up of? What are the things that contains that are present inside the nucleus? Let's study. The first one is a nuclear envelope. Nuclear envelope, it is a double membrane covering which separates the contents of the nucleus from cytoplasm. That means the nuclear envelope is the covering of the nucleus, and it contains many pores. Okay, these pores are called nuclear pores. These pores are pores. The word pore means holes. So nucleus has got certain holes in it, and those holes are called nuclear pores, and this nuclear pores allows exchange of materials between nucleus and cytoplasm. Next is nucleoplasm. What is nucleoplasm? Nucleoplasm is a colorless, inside the nucleus it has colorless dense sap, okay, in which chromatin and nucleolus are suspended. So inside the nucleus there is a liquid like structure. That liquid like structure is your nucleoplasm. Next is nucleolus. So nucleolus is a round structure present inside the nucleus which is rich in RNA and protein, and it is the site of ribosome formations. What are ribosomes and what does they do? Does they do? We will study in detail. So you have to remember for the time being is that the inside the nucleus there is a round structure called nucleolus, and in this nucleolus ribosomes are synthesized. Next is your chromatin. This chromatin are intertwined mass of thread-like structure that are made up of DNA and protein. So during cell division, this chromatin becomes highly coiled rod-like structures called chromosomes. So what are chromatin? Chromatin are thread-like structures that are present inside the nucleus of the cell. And whenever a cell divides, this thread-like structure condense and becomes highly coiled to form rod-like structures which are called chromosome. The rod-like structures are called chromosome. Okay. Next, what are chromosomes? So chromosomes are the thread-like structures. That means chromatin when condenses it becomes chromosomes. These chromosomes are called as hereditary vehicles. They are called hereditary vehicles because this chromosomes contains DNA, and DNA has got information for the next generation, and since this DNA is transferred from the parent to the next to their child, so it is called as hereditary vehicle. So these chromosomes are made up of DNA and protein. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. This DNA molecules contain the information necessary for constructing and organizing cell. That means it is the DNA only which has information, and with the help of this information only, the cell controls all the activities inside the cell. The nucleus controls all the activities inside the cell. Okay. Next, the DNA has got information. Not all the part of the DNA has got information. There are certain parts which contain information. That functional part which contain information is called gene. Fine. So in this diagram you can see we have a nucleus in the center of the cell. Okay. This center of the cell has got nucleus, and from that nucleus we can see the blue structures. The rod X-shaped structure is called your chromosome. These chromosomes are made up of DNA and protein. Clear? Next, what is the role of nucleus? I think it is clear. Now you can answer what is the role of nucleus. So let's start. It contains cell's hereditary information. That means it has got information. Fine. It controls cell's growth and reproduction. The growth of the cell and the reproduction, that means the division of the cell, is controlled by nucleus only. It functions the production of ribosome in the nucleolus. The role of nucleus is also to synthesize ribosome. It selectively transfers regulatory factors and energy molecules through nuclear pores. Nucleus also transport certain molecules which are essential for the functioning of the cell. Okay. Next, prokaryotes. Now there are some organisms that lack proper cellular nucleus. That means they do not have a well-defined nucleus. Okay, and also they do not have membrane-bound organelles. Such type of organism which does not contain a proper nucleus are called prokaryotes. Generally the prokaryotes are single cell organism. That means they are unicellular, and their DNA molecule is compact. That means their DNA molecules are present in an area of cytoplasm, and that area where their DNA molecule is found is called nucleus. Examples are bacteria. So this is a prokaryote. Here you can see in the center of the cell there is a dark pink color structure, that is their chromosome of the cell, that is or the DNA of the cell. It is not inside any particular membrane, so Such type of organisms which do not contain a proper nucleus or any membrane bound organelle are called prokaryotes. Next is your eukaryotes. Eukaryotes are those organisms that have well defined nucleus and have membrane bound organelles. That means the organism which contain a proper nucleus and they also have membrane bound organelles are called eukaryotes. Eukaryotes could be either unicellular or multicellular, and their DNA are well organized inside the nucleus. Examples are plants and animals. Here in the diagram you can see eukaryote is there, it has nucleus, and inside the nucleus their genetic material, that is DNA, is present. Whereas in prokaryotes their genetic material, that is DNA, is just is kept just in the cell without any special structure. Okay, now let us try to understand the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So prokaryotes are generally unicellular, whereas eukaryotes are multicellular. In case of prokaryote, the nuclear region is poorly defined, and that region is called nucleoid. Whereas in eukaryotes, nucleus is well defined and it is surrounded by nuclear membrane. In prokaryotes, membrane bound organelles are absent. Membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, chloroplast, endoplasmic reticulum, all these special organelles are absent in prokaryotes, whereas these organelles are found in eukaryotes. They are generally smaller in size. Prokaryotes are generally smaller in size, whereas eukaryotes are larger as compared to prokaryotes. Prokaryotes have single chromosome, whereas in eukaryotes more than one chromosome is seen. Examples of prokaryotes are bacteria, blue-green algae, etc. Whereas examples of eukaryotes are plants, animal, fungi, etc. Okay. So with this I have finished we have come to an end of the today's discussion. In the next class we will study with the rest of the structures of the cell. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.